Hey there! If you are new around here, I'm Stacy, the Encaustic Mixed Media artist behind Studio Stacy. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Happy Monday and day 6 of Vlogmas. Today I thought it would be fun to kind of show you my morning routine, and then I'm gonna hopefully do some painting. So let's rewind. We'll go back in time here a couple hours ago when I first woke up, and I'll show you my morning routine.
Good morning. It is early, about 5 a.m. and it is time to lace up my tennis shoes and jump on the treadmill for about 20 to 30 minutes. While I'm on the treadmill, I love to catch up on my favorite YouTube channels, and this morning I'm catching up on the Van Wives travel channel. First morning using the new coffee pot, so let's see how this brews and if I put enough coffee in it. It's a larger coffee pot than our old one. Still hanging on to that old one just to make sure the new one works. And now I need to clean up the mess in the kitchen before breakfast. So let's get this stuff cleaned up. Don't mind my bare feet and frizzy hair. Just jumped out of the shower and now cleaning up the kitchen. I always need to start with a clean kitchen before I can really officially start my day. Please tell me I'm not the only one. For some reason, I can't be bothered to clean it up at night, but in the morning, I really need to start with a nice clean kitchen before I start the day. So anyways, on to that coffee now. It's fully brewed and Matt is now up. He's a little slower in the mornings than I am, but let's see how this coffee is. Seems like it came out a little bit lighter. Might need to add a little bit more grounds or maybe do a bolder brew for tomorrow morning. But we'll see. Keep experimenting. It's quite tasty, and it's really nice that the pot is larger. For breakfast during the week, we normally keep it really nice and simple. Just some cereal. Of course, Matt loves his Lucky Charms. Got to have Monday Lucky Charms. Cheers to a good day. And a little funny side note, whenever Matt has Lucky Charms, I always get a little heart marshmallow in my coffee cup. Kind of makes my mornings.
Love you.
Love you.
Happy work day. Now I have the wax turned on up here in the studio, and while that heats up, I'm going to be experimenting again today with some wool roving and different fiber materials. If for whatever reason you missed that video, I think a few days ago now, I don't know exactly how many days ago, but at any rate, if you missed that video, I'll stick it up here somewhere, and you can go check that out. But today I'm going to be working again, like I said, with some more wool roving and then also some fibers. And these fibers are from Plum Crazy Fibers. I will link that below. They're an Etsy shop, a small Etsy shop, and she's got a ton of different unique fibers. I have not tried them out before, but let's see what happens here. Okay, here's the fibers, and as you can see, these don't have any color to them. They're just natural. And so I think what I'm going to do, if I can get them all untangled here, I think what I'm going to do, and this is like a bark, so it's slightly different than the roving, but I think what I'm going to do, back to what I'm going to do here, is take some ink, some India ink that I know I can use with Encaustic, and dilute it down a whole lot, and then see about maybe adding that ink to these fibers, and then let them dry, of course, and then I will put some encaustic wax on them and see what happens. All right, so let me show you what I've got here. I have these India inks by Bombay, and I have magenta, yellow ochre, and turquoise. And then I've got some towels laid down to protect my work surface. These little ceramic containers, which my plan is to just put like a tiny, tiny little dot of India ink and water it down a lot. And then I have some mixed media and watercolor paper just to absorb some of the ink and not waste any of the ink. And then that might create a background paper. So that is the plan. Of course, I'm going to grab a couple brushes and some water, and let's get started.
So up first, I'm just really stretching these fibers out, and then I'm spritzing them with some water to make sure that they're fully wetted down and will absorb. Not that they wouldn't absorb if they weren't wet, but this way maybe they won't quite absorb quite as much of that ink and will be more like a watercolor effect. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, this silk fiber, I wish you guys could feel this through the screen. It is so incredibly soft. And these fibers are much longer than the regular old inexpensive store-bought roving that I used, and they stretch out really nicely. Adding the ink to these pieces, and I'm just blotting this down with either straight from out of the ink dropper or with the water down to see the difference between the two. And I've gotten them quite wet, so now I'm just blotting them off with a towel just to see if they'll dry a little bit quicker. They unfortunately don't, spoiler alert, but I'm going to give you a couple close-ups here because I really like how they turned out.
Okay, I clearly have not taken into account how long those will probably take to dry. So I don't know if I'm gonna get to working on those today before I put this vlog out. But I also decided to use some of the wool roving, the already pre-colored wool roving, if you will, that I used a couple videos back, just to see if that would also take some color while I had the ink and the mess out. So we'll see how that dries as well. I'm really liking how they look. I'm just not sure that they're gonna dry in time to use them in this video. But if I don't, stay tuned and I will use them, I promise, in a future video. So anyways, let's continue on with the day. While those dry, I'm just gonna go through some email. And if they don't dry shortly, I will probably just start something else. So stay tuned. Okay, these are all still extremely wet, so I don't think that there's any way I am going to be able to do anything with them, but I just wanted to peel back this one because this paper underneath, I'm really kind of enjoying it, but it is super wet. The dye is definitely wet. They're coming off of my finger. So, but yeah, look how pretty that is on the paper. I mean, hopefully it'll come out nice on the roving as well. But let me flip the camera around and show you what I've decided to do instead. All right, so instead of painting with encaustic today, I'm going to continue on with this ink fabric fiber experiment. And I have a bin of fabric scraps and just different fabrics that I'm going to go through and pull out the fabric that already has encaustic on it. At some point in time, I put encaustic on a couple of these pieces of fabric. Some of it has stitching, some of it doesn't. And so what I thought I would do is add a little of the India ink over top of this fabric with the encaustic already on it and see what that does. Okay, here's what I pulled out of the fabric thing. Like I said, some of it has stitching on it already, like this piece. And this actually here, I don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can, has some stitching on it. Here's the thread sticking out here. And like I said, all this has encaustic wax on it. Now, this piece, this thread really doesn't have much wax on it, but the fabric does. So we'll see what happens here. These are all dyed with other watercolors and things like that. Those have encaustic wax. And then this piece here has some tiny stitching on it. I don't know if you can see that very well, but this I did with the sewing machine before I put the wax on it. And then this piece has, again, some hand-dyed stitches to it, or hand-dyed stitching on it. And this piece does not have any stitching on it at all. I also have switched out the inks. I'm going to be using sepia, teal, and red violet just to switch things up a bit. And then I also thought I would do some stitching with these embroidery thread and embroidery needle on some of these pieces really quick before I put the ink on them. So let's see how this goes. I thought I'd show you some close-ups of the results of this. It's not dry yet, obviously, but I kind of performed like how I thought it would, in that on the wax, I hope you can see that there, it really beads up. And then in those stitch lines, it kind of sunk in a bit. And you can really see that in this one, where there was not any wax on that stitch or any wax around the outside here, like there was no wax here, but there's some wax on this yellow portion of it. And you can see actually the water is still beaded up there. And then on this piece here, I crumpled up to see if it would sink into the lines, if that would really kind of break the wax up a little bit. And so far it looks like it has. Again, I have to let it dry. And then I did the same thing with this one with the blue India ink. And again, you can see it really did sink into those kind of cracked lines after I crumpled the waxed fabric up. And then coming on over to this one, more stitching, and again, you can see where it kind of really sunk into those stitches there that don't have any wax on it. Now, this piece here, I had stitching on it, but it did not sink into it because I had applied wax to the fabric and to the stitches. So, you know, just interesting experiments, interesting effects, and definitely worth experimenting with. I think this is where I am going to leave you. It is almost 1 o'clock, so I'm going to go grab a quick bite for lunch. Usually Matt takes a break with me, so we'll see if he does that. We try to take a quick half-hour catch-up in the middle of the day, or even 15 minutes for lunch. And then I'll be back up here in time to edit this video and hopefully get it up today. All right, I've been editing this video for a couple hours and it's about ready to go up, but I just wanted to give you a final glimpse at some of these. They're a little bit drier now, and you can see that it really didn't sink into those crevices. This was the crinkled up piece of fabric, as much as I initially thought it did. So I hope you can kind of see that. It did some, but not as nearly as much as what it initially looked like. So just a quick update. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video to see what becomes of all of this. So like I said, this is where I'm going to leave you. Hopefully you enjoyed those inky experiments. If you did, I would so much appreciate it if you gave the video a great big thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed and would consider doing so, I would also really appreciate that. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video where hopefully I will be doing some more with these inky experiments and applying some wax to them. Again, thanks so much for coming along. We'll talk to you soon, and bye for now.